Hey guys, what's happening? Jake here from Jake's Opinion. Footy tonight, this weekend. It's going to be interesting. Let's get straight into my tips. The first game of the round is Essendon v Hawthorn that Eddie had tonight. I'm going to tip Hawthorn for this pretty comfortably. Essendon were really disappointing against Geelong. They just lacked enthusiasm, something that they had a lot at the start of the year. Really wanted to get the hard ball, but now it's just kind of like it's a hassle for them. Hawthorn, even without Buddy, destroyed Collingwood last week. Kicked big scores because of the smalls standing up. Smalls like Bruce, Rioli and Puopolo. Try saying that to yourself. And they're just getting the job done. I'm hoping for a close game tonight, but I'm afraid I don't really think it's going to happen. I think Hawthorn are going to win pretty easily. The next game is going to be Geelong v Adelaide. I'm going to tip Adelaide for this. I know a lot of you are going to argue with me and you're going to tip Geelong because it's skilled and blah blah blah, but the fact is they haven't really been that great there this year. Port challenged them. Richmond should have beaten them there. It's not as daunting for teams anymore to go down to skilled or Simmons Stadium and beat Geelong. And I think Adelaide can do it. They've got the discipline, they've got the structures in place, they've got a really good coach who, as everyone remembers, was a part of the coaching team last year for Geelong when they won the premiership, so he knows how they work. And they did smash them earlier in the year at Amy Stadium, so I think they'll be going into the game pretty confident. And yeah, even despite the home ground advantage, I think Adelaide should win, but it should be a close game. North v Melbourne is the other Saturday afternoon game. Not much to say about this, but apart from North, they're going to cement their spot in the top 8. It's going to make it hard for Richmond and St Kilda and Carlton, those teams, to catch them because of the percentage boost that they should get from this game. So I think North will win easily over Melbourne. The next game is Collingwood v GWS. Collingwood coming off a bad loss to Hawthorn last week, a shock loss to Hawthorn, and GWS just losing like they love doing, apparently. It was on Collingwood like last week, the performance. They only lost by, in the end, 40-something points, I think it was. It could have been a lot more than that. Really got a classy team going up to GWS, and they should get the job done. The main thing I'm going to look at for this game, though, is how Travis Cloke plays, because he's been in pretty bad form. At least so is Chris Dawes, but the main one is Cloke, because he's the barometer. If he's on, then Collingwood's usually dominating teams, and when he's off, the forward line doesn't really function as well. He really needs to kick a bag in this game. He just needs to get his confidence up, kick 5 or 6. Kevin Sheedy brought in Chad Corn, so a really tough, experienced defender on him. So he's not going to be playing against an 18, 19-year-old, so kicking 6 or 7 on Chad Corns would actually be a decent effort. And that's definitely what he needs. Just someone to get the confidence up, and then his teammates can actually have confidence in kicking it to him, so they'll start playing a bit quicker and more instinctively. And in saying that, Collingwood should win easily. The next game is a big Saturday night game, probably the biggest game of the round. It's Carlton v Richmond. You can basically say goodbye to the loser for finals this year, and the winner stays in the hunt, so it's a really big game. Both have been up and down, both have shown glimpses of, amazing form, and then, some pretty shocking matches as well. Really inconsistent. It's interesting to note that last week Carlton won and Richmond lost, yet I think that Richmond played the better out of the two last week. The game was really dour and boring against the Bulldogs, and they were really lucky to get over the line there because Bulldogs were great for 3 quarters. Richmond tried their best to beat Kangaroos, and it was really like a finals-like game, whereas the other one was more of like a bottom 4 sort of feel about it. So judging on that, I think Richmond should win. They actually have, some key targets to go up forward and a really great midfield and a decent backline. Carlton usually get these games. They love playing Richmond. They've beaten them the last 5 or 6 times. Their smalls love playing Richmond, so that's something that Richmond need to focus on. But if you just go off current form, you'd say Richmond. But it won't be a blowout or anything like that. It's going to be a really tough game, and it's just going to be a matter of who can, break the other team first. But I'm just going to go with Richmond. Gold Coast have been pretty competitive lately. Don't think they're going to really be that competitive against Sydney. Sydney had a hard-fought win last week against St Kilda, though they weren't really at their best. They got the job done like a good team does, but they were far from convincing. Don't think they need to be that much better than last week to beat Gold Coast, to be honest, but it's an important game for them just to cement top 2 spot and guarantee that they can't really fall out of the top 4 after this weekend. So in the end, they're going to play finals and they're going to get the double chance. It's going to be really good for them. For Sydney, for me. Port v Free is the next Sunday game. It's going to be a really interesting game. Port are really good at home. Freo aren't great travellers, though they're getting better under Ross Lyon. And Port have had some big wins at home, so being at Amy Stadium, you never know, they could do it. I'm going to tip Freo. I think they're going to win. But it's a game that Freo don't want to drop, especially with the position they're in, because it'll make it really hard to make top 8. And it's a game they've dropped in the past, so they really need to be ready for this and be prepared and have a really good disciplined performance and get the job done and just leave. If it turns into one of those close games and it's fourth quarter and it's a couple points the difference, then Port are really going to fancy their chances and it could be a bit of an upset. Pavlich has led from the front magnificently the last couple of weeks, and if he does it again on Sunday and he gets off the leash and kicks a few early goals, then I think Freo will definitely win. Now for St Kilda v Dogs. Not one of the best games of the round. Saints should win easily. Dogs, like I say every week, don't really have a forward line, and that's kind of important when you play football because forward lines kick goals and goals win games. So when you don't have a forward line, the other two really won't happen. Mind-boggling stuff there from Jake. Saints are pretty good at Etihad. They've got a good record. They're one of the best in the league. They are going to be hungry to stay in the hunt. So I think they're going to put their foot down in this game early. They started really well against Sydney last week, so that'll be kind of kicking them in the backside to not, let teams back into the games after such a great start. So I think they're going to come out, just put the foot down and just get the job done like they did last time against the Dogs. So Saints for me. And the last game of the round is West Coast v Brisbane at Subiaco. West Coast coming off some pretty bad losses in the last couple of weeks, and Brisbane coming off disappointing losses to St Kilda and a really unconvincing win against the Gold Coast. It's an interesting game because Brisbane haven't been that bad lately and they've beaten West Coast this year, so that'll be in their minds, and no doubt Michael Voss will mention that and show them some highlights of that game to see how they countered what West Coast usually do, which is the long, quick football to their tall targets. Just got to be careful about Dean Cox and Nat Nui, because if the rest of the team has been a bit down, usually those two stand up and help them get going. Though despite the injuries to West Coast, I think the home ground advantage and the crowd and just the need to win will get them over the line. They need a win because they're going to stay in the hunt for top 4, and if they lose, then they're going to really drop behind the 8 ball. So I think West Coast will win for me. So that's it for my tips this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Comment below, tell me who you're tipping and what you think is going to be the most exciting game of the round for you. Thanks very much.